let's talk about The Godfather today. Okay? So proclaimed and debated as the best movie ever made. It's kind of crazy how a movie about family, class, society, criminality, that kind of movie would be still 40 years later, um, one of the greatest ever. And so that would not have happened without the producer, the director, Francis Coppola. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm pretty positive I am. But he was a mastermind who brought this movie together. It couldn't have happened. I mean, he convinced Marlon Brando. He kept Al Capone. Because apparently production was a little hell during the making of this movie. I mean, for example, the studio wanted to kind of produce it on set. Didn't really want to spend the money and go out in New York City and actually produce it there. There'd be a lot more money. Coppola and his crew had to make sure that mob members were not upset by this movie. So whether it was keeping them calm or kind of making deals with them, make sure they weren't going to interrupt it, because it was a movie about their image. And so again, it starts with Francis Coppola, the director. These are just the stepping stones to this hectic production. So much was going on, though, in this 3-hour film that they shot at 120 different locations, which that's a lot of locations. That's a lot of areas to splice together in this long movie. And so props to Coppola for making that happen. But most special, important aspect to me was how the camera fit in so well in this movie. For example, during the baptism scene kind of towards the end of the film, Michael, the camera kind of zooms in on him as the ceremony is going on, and it's kind of like a calming scene in the church. But as Michael's responding to the ceremony and just saying his lines, they kind of have a cut in and out with him on what's kind of going on actually in his mind, because outside the church, that's where all these murders are happening. That's where all these Michael's taking care of his enemies without him even being there. He's most likely thinking about that, and that's why this camera coming in, showing his face, and then kind of showing the murder, then going back to the scene of him in the church. That's why it's so special, because you can kind of get that glimpse of what's actually going on in Michael's mind. So that kind of leads me to my first main question for you guys today. So, one, you can tell Michael has kind of really become the Don in that scene, in that church scene specifically. So, my first question is, did Michael really need to become the Don in just such a way? For example, his dad was sick. He got shot earlier, so throughout the whole film, Michael's life, he had his dad kind of going through this, whilst his older brother Sonny stepped up, but he was more of a hothead. And so someone had to take over the business that was more level-headed and could make these business decisions, and that was Michael. So do you kind of think that was the way he should have went? Do you think maybe Sonny should have kept it if he would have not unfortunate events happened? To my second question for you guys. Do you actually think the Don meant for Michael to become the new Don under him all along? Now, he always said that he wanted Michael to do his own thing, and he went to college and that sort of thing. But after seeing Sonny not being so level-headed, being more like a hothead, making decisions on the fly, do you think ultimately he wished or hoped that Michael would come in and become the Don? So, and that's the second question for you guys. Third, we have towards the end, Michael had to lie to Kay about a crime. The sad kind of thing is that Kay kind of believed him. Not even kind of, she wholeheartedly believed him. So, was she really that naive to what Michael had become? Did she not know that she was now married to the Don? If you think so, that's kind of a rude awakening, because I think that going forward, she's gonna really figure out that, hey, this isn't the same guy I dated in the past. It's not even the same guy I married. So those are your three couple questions for today for the discussion board. Um, Before I leave, I wanted to go over one more thing. It's kind of like a fun fact. Um, Lenny Montana, who played Luca Brasi, uh, was playing the muscle for the Corleones, and he had real mob connections in real life. So more or less, he was playing himself for this movie. And the crazy thing is, though, that he actually was so intimidated by a fake Don, by Marlon Brando, that he would actually stuttered his lines whenever they shot the film or shot that scene. But uh, Capella thought it was actually a good display of how intimidating the Don can be. So he actually kept that line, kept him stuttering in it, and it was really interesting because a real life mob member um, was actually intimidated. So I thought that was pretty cool. Overall, I think you'll enjoy this movie. You'll love it. Sit through it. I know it's 3 hours long, but find some time, get through it. 3 hours gonna go just like that before you know it. So I know I said I was gonna leave, so give me 1 second, but I do want to figure out what your favorite scene was, though. There's a scene though in Sickly that it really stuck out to me. I mean, it was whenever Michael wasn't with his family, and he had to basically start his own little family over there. And I think he actually grew a lot during those times. I mean, from him being young and from college to actually helping out his family, but having to leave, had to leave for over a year. I mean, he grew a lot out of the country, which I think is one of the reasons why he became such a good Don, such a good level-head leader later during the film. So ultimately, I think that it's important to kind of share what your favorite scene is. That was probably my second favorite scene. I kind of already went over the church scene earlier. That was my top scene. So, yeah, tell me how you think about that. It was great talking about The Godfather here. I really enjoyed it as my first time seeing this, and I really hope you do too. So, Casey, and I'll see y'all next week.